Honorific and dear compatriots of the earth, especially those in Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, and overseas Chinese, American compatriots. Hello, you guys. The title of my video today is Deadly Mistakes of China and the US and the Conflict Resolution. China and the US are my favorite countries, but due to space constraints, I will have to explain why I love them later. The performances of deeply loving a country not speak well of the country only, but openly say the fatal mistakes that the country is making and put forward corresponding suggestions for solutions. And recognize that, in all my opinions, there must be some ignorance, prejudice, or error of which I am unaware. Anyone is welcome to criticize, openly debate, and compete. In this way, the wisdom of all members of our society can be utilized for making the country better. I have tried my best for more than 50 years, including 41 years of professional research, to think about and study the problems of China and humanity, and I have come to the conclusion that mankind is in urgent need of a second revolution in scientific knowledge that is broader and deeper than the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and the Reformation. Making the search for solutions to man-made fatal problems a science capable of reasoned competition, please see my 13th through 17th videos. While humankind does not need to create an all-encompassing world government, it does need to create, at the very least, a global contractual rule of law authority to effectively implement the winning formula of the global competition for solutions to the conflicts of nations and man-made deadly problems. I have discovered a once-in-a-millennium opportunity for China and the United States to turn something bad into something good. See the dozens of videos I have posted. If China and the United States basically adopt my proposal, they will not only make their countries powerful and great with all-round development, but will also help mankind to come out of barbarism and make the social civilization of mankind enter a golden age of high development, so that the countries of the world and the society of mankind will become much better and lovelier than they are now. Zhou 1. In order to make the argument that China and the United States are making a fatal mistake convincing, we must first find a common sense axiom as a reason for judgment. The axiom of the only choice for the sustainable survival of mankind in the 21st century reads as follows: at least 9 countries in the world today that are in serious conflict with each other already have nuclear weapons that have destroyed all the people of the earth dozens of times. If humankind continues to lack some kind of global authority to resolve conflicts between nations, races, and religions, more nuclear-armed states will emerge in the future, and it is very likely that one day a terrorist organization will suddenly announce that they already have had nuclear weapons. According to Murphy's Law, if there is a possibility that something will go wrong, no matter how small, it will always happen, mankind may suddenly experience nuclear winter or nuclear destruction at any time in the future, and any earthling could become a victim of man-made catastrophe at any time. The facts show that it is impossible for any country to unify the globe by force and establish a global dictatorship to resolve conflicts among nations. Although now no one knows whether or not human beings can find a solution to avoid self-destruction, if human beings are not a stupid species who only love to fight to win with each other, or only look at their immediate interests and don't care about the overall self-destruction, the only choice for today's human beings is to hold a series of competitions as soon as possible, so as to make every effort to find a possible model for creating a global contractual rule of law authority and use it to implement the winning schemes of competitions for solutions of national conflicts and man-made fatal problems. To that end, China must experiment with democratic reform as soon as possible, and the United States must abandon its pursuit of world hegemony. What can be done immediately is to conduct a public contest on this paper and the 14 questions it raises in order to find a majority consensus and then take common action. 2. The fatal mistake that China is making is briefly described as follows. After China's economic aggregates rank second in the world, if the Chinese government takes the solution to the serious problems that may be encountered in the process of democratic reform as one of the necessary conditions, and puts out a global tender for China's democratic reform program, and once it finds a reform program that meets the conditions, sets up a special zone to carry out democratic reform experimentation. If the first reform is unsuccessful, the bidding and the experiment will continue. In this way, the ingenuity of all the people of the world can be brought into full play to help solve the difficult problems of national governance, thereby enabling China to make significant contributions to human civilization in the two major areas of national democratic reform and the way the country is governed. However, China has not done so, but has further strengthened its centralized system and hopes to use this system to achieve the goal of surpassing the US in terms of China's economic aggregates, which is a serious violation of the axiom of the only choice for the sustainable survival of mankind in the 21st century, and will inevitably cause other democratic countries to worry about it and suppress it, thus creating many new contradictions and conflicts and intensifying them continuously. This will not only lead to a total economic recession in China, but will also bring about a great disaster or even mutual destruction for both China and the world. Aero 3. The fatal mistake that the US is making is that, according to the existing theories of state of nature, social contract, and separation of powers and checks and balances, any society that does not create the rule of law authority by means of a social contract will either be plunged into endless conflicts and wars or be under authoritarian dictatorship. The US is neither able to conquer the world by force in order to establish dictatorial authority, nor is it willing to create the authority of the rule of law by means of a global contract. This irrational approach seriously violates the axiom of the only choice for the sustainable survival of mankind in the 21st century and will lead the United States and the countries of the world to the path of common destruction. The universal weakness of human nature is that when people are in a weak position, they desperately pursue equality and regard equality as a universal value. Once they become strong, they emphasize their special situation and stop talking about equality. The biggest mistake of this behavior is that the strong think that they can represent equality and justice, and that they can get the greatest benefit for them by doing so. The problem now is that it is possible for humankind to create a global contractual rule of law authority if the sole superpower, the US, so desires. For that to happen, an open debate competition must be held globally. Would the creation of a global contractual rule of law authority do more good or more harm to all people of the United States? Therefore, under the current world pattern, the Sino-American conflict has been caught in an unsolvable dead knot. If there is no disruptive innovation ideas, the conflict will not only be unsolvable, but will only continue to deteriorate with unimaginable consequences. 1. The disruptive innovation for resolving the US-China conflict is that the following 14 questions that exist behind the dead knot of the US-China conflict must be solved first. See videos 3-4 for their unfolding descriptions. 1963, the United States President John F. Kennedy said in the commencement address at American University, "Our problems are man-made, therefore they can be solved by man. No problem of human destiny is beyond human beings. Man's reason and spirit have often solved the seemingly unsolvable. The saying is even clearer, there are always more solutions than problems." My decades of research have revealed the following. Why are all the major problems facing humankind today stuck in an insoluble deadlock? The fundamental reason is that the vast majority of people believe that these conflicts are impossible to resolve. My IQ is not low, and I have spent decades thinking about solutions that almost anyone can say are impossible in a matter of seconds. These people don't even consider whether their perceived impossibilities contain cognitive blind spots, biases, or errors of which they are unaware. Thus, it can be seen that the deadlock of the many problems that humanity is currently facing is caused by all the people of the earth. Why do humans make such low-level mistakes? Please see my 5th video. The paradox facing humankind today is that almost everyone feels that humankind is in need of a sea change, but almost everyone fails to recognize that in order to bring about such a sea change, each of us needs to change the misconceptions that have led to the deadlock of the problem, and that there must be a full contest of debate on the above 14 questions in order to find a majority consensus. Common action is then taken. For a detailed version of this article, please see the article of the same name on my blog, fangsinghe.blogspot.com. Thank you all.